All right, Susan and Jeff, just take a moment to breathe in this pure mountain air and admire one another, looking your finest. Because today, here in the remoteness and beauty of the mountains, you are seizing the opportunity to take this relationship of yours, take this next big step by becoming husband and wife. Now, as you make this commitment to one another, it's important that you understand that you are promising to love and support, to encourage and to admire each other, and of course to continue working together. Because after so many years in one another's company, if there's one thing that you've taken from that, is that you have never been more capable or happier than when you're tackling the trials of life side by side as a team. It's an important milestone, there's no denying that, and it's a step that you should not be taken lightly. But as you stand here in front of one another, it couldn't feel more natural, a natural progression of your shared life together. And of course, you couldn't be more excited. Now, before I continue, the circumstances in which the world has found itself have resulted in quite a few absences of many of those close to you here today. Now, although they are not able to join you here in Aotearoa, let us spare a moment for all of those close to you who are without a doubt thinking of you today, and I hope they'll be raising a glass in your honour tonight and having a little celebration wherever they may be. In particular, let us acknowledge Susan's mother, Vicky, and sister Nadia, as well as her father, Arturo. And on Jeff's side, your father, Les, and of course your siblings, Brooke and Scott. Know that today each one of them will be thinking of you, but at the same time, they would hate for you to be standing here dwelling in their absence. So instead, picture each of them with the biggest smile on their face and just let that bring you closer together. Back to the two of you, because today, that's what it's all about. It's about you two. Having been together for coming up 8 years, as serious as a commitment as you are making today, in almost every sense of the matter, you are as good as married already, let's face it. So rather than focusing too much on how serious this all is, instead I want you to take this opportunity to celebrate everything that the two of you have to be grateful for. Celebrate how lucky you are to have found one another, everything that has brought you closer and closer together right up until this very day, and of course the incredible future filled with all manner of fluffy things of all shapes and sizes that you have to look forward to from today onwards. Because really, how lucky were the two of you to come across one another in all places in a hostel in Queens all those years ago. Whether it was fate or sheer blind luck, Jeff, hailing all the way from New Zealand, checked into that hostel on his adventure halfway across the world and was delighted to meet this beautiful, cheeky woman with a great sense of humour. He'd set off on this backpacking trip across the world expecting to discover new things and try new experiences, but he couldn't have imagined he would meet you, the love of his life. On the other side of things, Susan was initially struck by just how calm your presence was as you got to know one another in the close quarters of the hostel. She is the first to admit that calm is not really one of her traits, so she just could not for the life of her understand how this crazy, smart, genuine, caring guy could possibly fall for her. And yet, of course, the more that you spoke, the more you were drawn to one another. In fact, judging by what you said about Jeff's movements after that first stop in Queens, whether it was all planned or not, it seems he really couldn't get enough of being in your company because, of course, he returned not once, but twice more to that very same hostel. After stint number 3 and having been on a couple of dates, you had reached the limit to which you could get to know one another in the hustle and bustle of a hostel. So, having only known each other for a short period of time, you made the bold decision to move out of the hostel and find a shared flat together. So, together you saw your first white Christmas. You shared an incredible year in New York City after Jeff decided on a whim to stay much longer than he had intended. It seemed that effortlessly life together was filled with laughter, and with each day that passed there was no denying that this was something very special. Then of course you're visiting Mexico on your first overseas trip together. You realised that as many places as you'd gone each respectively, there was nothing like going and seeing a new place with someone that you love there to share every experience with. Meeting Susan's family, discovering the culture and savouring all of the smells and flavours that mean so much to her. The Mexicans might do things a little bit differently from us Kiwis here in New Zealand, but there is no denying that they know how to put on a great party, how to make a great feast, and of course, how to look after family above anything else. With one another, it seems that nothing is too daunting. In the face of a blizzard, you trudged home through the snows, cold and wet, but at the end of it, you were happy. You've been separated by oceans, but you've never let that get between you. It's always brought you closer and closer together. And then, of course, Susan has followed you all the way back, across half the globe, and you've begun to create your life here in New Zealand. Standing here now, you lead a life together that makes you happy and fulfilled. You have Tex, you have your kiddies, you have an amazing relationship, and you have the work-life balance to enjoy everything that there is to offer. Always committed to putting the hard yards in, of course, but also taking the time out to adventure and to make the most of our backyard here and all that there is that the world has to offer. When you're not outside, you are also finding balance at home, and you don't shy from a night in binging Netflix or watching extended cuts of Lord of the Rings. That is something you love just as much. But of course, above any action and experience, what is most important about your relationship as you stand here today is that you love one another for nothing more than being absolutely, unapologetically yourselves. Together you've balanced life in such a beautiful way, and you selflessly do what makes one another happy and feel secure and strong. So effortlessly over so many years you have encouraged and inspired each other to be the absolute best versions of yourself possible. Really what I'm trying to get at here with all of this reflection is that I've only covered a fraction of what the two of you have shared with each other since you first met in 2013. The reasons that you stand here today to get married are really, truly countless. Without a doubt, together you are a formidable team, and you have absolutely everything that you need to make this one a lasting, fulfilling and happy marriage. So with that, let's get on with it. I'd like you to now share your vows with one another. So Jeff, if you'd do the honour of going first.
Susan, soon to be my wife. It has been a long journey to get here, but we have many adventures to come. The 7 years we've been together have flown by, but there's no one I'd rather fly through life with than you. Let us keep on flying through life forever and onwards. Today, I give you my hand, my heart, my love, and a ring, always to be yours. This means always holding your hand on the plane when it's about to take off. This means always being the one to catch spiders and take them out of the house. This means taking time to stop to help an animal when it's in need. This means learning Spanish so that you have someone to talk to in your own tongue. This means always being there for you and the fur kids. Words cannot express how much that I love you, but know that I love you with all my heart. Te amo con todo mi corazón.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I will always be with you.
All right. All right, Susan, when you're ready.
Hi, Jeff. Look at this. Can you believe it? After meeting in New York, so long ago, and did it ever cross in your mind that we would end up in the top of the mountains with a lovely view, doing something crazy? So, yeah, here we are, living this moment that we probably thought many times doing it, and we just took a bit longer than we probably should have, but we're loving it. I just want to say how much I love you, how how lucky I am to have such a caring man with me, and just to see how much you love our animals and you care so much for something that it signifies so much for me. And that just gives me an idea of the father you will be one day, and it means the world for me to see you become a dad and love them so much as well. I will do as well. I can promise you many things, but I will promise you that I will hold your hand forever, for good and bad, and I will be for you always there when we get old too, when I don't look the same way I look today, but I will always be there for you, and that I care so much about you, and I'm pretty sure I could show you, thank you for everything you do to let me follow my dreams. It means so much. Even this crazy one, it was, last minute. Thank you for letting it happen, and thank you for loving me so much and showing it to me.
All right, beautiful. So of course, as a symbol of your marriage today and of the beautiful vows that you've just shared, you're now going to exchange wedding bands. Now, as you place these rings on one another's fingers and you say your ring vows, what I want you to remember is that after all is said and done, the rings, they are only a symbol. As much as the ring is beautiful, and I'm sure that you'll treasure it for every day of your life, what is more important is what that ring represents, and that is that you have an incredible best friend and soon-to-be husband and wife, and you have incredible loving family and friends to support you all along the way. So just remember that. Treasure your bond above anything else. So with that, I have something I prepared earlier. So if you would like to take that one and hold it nice and tightly, and you take that one. All right, so hold them nice and tight, get them nice and warm just for a moment. Take another big deep breath. And then Jeff, if you'd like to take Susan's hand and repeat after me. With this ring, I bind my life to yours.
I bind my life to yours.
As your best friend and husband.
As your best friend and husband.
From this day.
From this day.
And for the rest of my days.
And for the rest of my days.
Well done, mate. You may put the ring on your finger.
Oh.
Perfect. Susan, please take Jeff's hand and repeat after me. With this ring, I bind my life to yours.
I bind my life to yours.
As your best friend and wife.
As your best friend and wife.
From this day.
From this day.
And for the rest of my days.
And for the rest of my days.
All right, you may put the ring on his finger. Beautiful. All right, hold each other's hands. Feel those brand new rings on your fingers. Now, as a wise old man once said, I'm sure you've heard this one before, Jeff. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. The two of you already have a vision in mind about what you'd like your future to bring. You'd like to expand your family. That is definitely a priority, whether that is with kids or with more fur babies. While you may not know exactly what the makeup of that future family will be, you do know that together you have more than enough love between you to make everyone feel as safe and secure and happy as you do in this very moment. As well as your family, you are definitely not finished with your adventures either. You're going to adventure at every opportunity that you can. Going to see family in Mexico and knocking places off the bucket list each time you leave the country. Adventure is something that is synonymous with your relationship. It is part of who you are. The one thing that I implore you to remember, especially after the year that we've just had, is that nothing should ever be taken for granted. Whatever life does have in store for you both, always just stay true to yourself and be there for each other every step of the way. Keep one another laughing by giving the pets silly names or talking in silly voices, singing along to show intros, for example. Keep each other supported like no one else can support you. And even when you may not like one another, and those days will come, you have arguments, whatever you do, you still have to choose to love each other, because that is what you're promising here today, is to wake up every day and to make the choice to love each other. So, with a nice clear mind and with a beautiful future ahead of you, I have just one last question for each of you. So, Jeffrey, John, Dobson, do you take this beautiful woman, Susan Bieni Delgado Perez, to be your lovingly wedded wife, to love, honour and respect her as your equal, so long as you both shall live?
I do.
All right, and do you, Susan Bieni Delgado Perez, take this man, Jeffrey John Dobson, to be your lovingly wedded husband, to love, honour and respect him as your equal, so long as you both shall live?
I do.
Then it is with great excitement I may now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss. Woohoo! Woohoo! Amazing. Well done, guys. Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Woohoo! All right.